proper coolant. Welcome back to the Double Duck Garage. This is just a follow-up video after my head gasket replacement series. When I left it, there was just one or two minor little jobs to be done, so I'll just cover those very quickly. And then it's just about the health checks and finally the MOT. Hopefully by the end of this video I will have a road legal car again. So let's see how it goes. Okay, this is slightly annoying. Having put all of this back together, I've had to take it apart again because I didn't put this speed sensor housing back at the time, thinking I just bolted on at any time, and I can't because it goes here and you can't put it in place when the trailing arm is bolted to the hub. So what I've had to do is undo the top of the swing arm there, and then at the bottom we have the track arm and the bottom of the swing arm there. Okay, that's that back in place. It's really not that difficult. I'll just reattach everything, torque it all back up, and that's job done. So it looks like that goes into there. There's also this gearbox speed sensor that I'd forgotten when I was reconnecting the loom earlier. Putting this shield back required a little bit of patience, but got there in the end. All the bolts on the suspension, the arms, the hubs, everything all now torqued up to their correct settings, and you can probably see there's a dash of yellow paint on each one. That just tells me that I've done that one, and helps me make sure that I haven't missed any. Before the wheel goes on, I'm going to have a cup of tea, and then I'm going to come back, I'm going to check that absolutely everything has got a yellow dot on it, and then the wheel goes back on, and that's another job I can tick off the list. So much for a cup of tea. As the ducks had drunk my tea, all I could do was move on to the next job. I wasn't happy with my first attempt at the subframe bolts. Neither of the two captive nuts I drilled and tapped were good enough, nor was one of the near sides. Okay, that's much better. That's taken the torque of 30 Newton meters, no problem at all. No hint of any slippage, dodgy thread or anything there. Off camera, I've replaced the two offside subframe mounting bolts. The threads seem really good. The bolts are torqued up to 30 Newton meters, so I'm considering that a 100% successful job. I've also taken the two radiator hoses off of the undercar stainless pipes and drained the coolant, and I'm now getting ready to take the radiator hoses off and replace them with the silicone ones. One thing that is slightly annoying and is going to stop me finishing this tonight is that the kit should have 4 of these left and there's only 2. Well, considering this is an MG I'm working on, that was actually a surprisingly easy job. So there's a couple of P-clips to go onto each side just to support the hose. Obviously what I can't do for the time being, because I've run out of clamps, is actually properly attach the hoses to the stainless pipes under the car, but they can sit on there for the time being just to make sure that everything fits. It's a few days later and I now have a stock of clips. Decided if I was going to order a couple I might as well get a load of spares for the garage. Then hopefully next time it won't be an issue if I'm just short 1 or 2. What it has allowed me to do is do some work on the Cayenne. Unfortunately I've got ABS, PSM, DME, Tiptronic issues with it. Not driving particularly well at all at the moment. There will be some videos on that coming along. It's turning out to be quite an interesting problem, and certainly challenging my sort of mediocre diagnostic skills, but you know, keep an eye out on the channel for later on this year. There will be videos on the Cayenne. That's the last of the undercar hoses done. Now what I've got to do is work out where this lot goes. I decided it would be potentially easier to spend half an hour stripping out the centre console. These are the 2 metal pipes that I want to take out and replace. new PSCAN hose joiners turned up today. I've spent 20 minutes in the garage fitting the silicone hoses. I can now go and put the whole lot into the car. That's the 3 hoses that go to the heater and the heater valve replaced. It's a couple of days later, and yesterday afternoon I got quite a few jobs done on the car. Primarily is proper coolant. So it's 50-50 mix of this stuff, which is silicone hose friendly, and deionized water. Did a few other jobs as well. I touched up the paintwork on the subframe, put the engine cover back, the roll hoops are back in place, the fuse box cover is back in place, and the glove box is back in place. The centre console is held in place by 6 self-tappers and 2 plastic push-in trim clips. The fascia goes in very easily. There's a clip down there and 3 at the top there. The gear shift and handbrake gaiters clip into place, the ashtray drops in, and I've even managed to remember to reconnect all the switches. 2 screws up there, 2 screws down there, this alarm sensor, a few more screws, and it's all back together. Right, it's looking good in here, and that's all the trim that's going back in place now, and time to put the rear bumper on. 3 bolts are secured in the boot. 2 self-tappers attach the bumper to the wing. These can be pigs because they get really rusty. And then there are 2 large Torx bolts, one by each tailpipe. The rear plastic screen split a little while ago, so there's been some water getting into the car. That's caused a little bit of rust, so that's all been treated and the interior painted. A few days later, and it's all back together for the second time. So now we can move on to the health checks. Swampy's here with me with his PSCAN, and I've connected it up, and with the exception of the cam sync, it's all looking good.
Oxygen sensors seem to be doing the right thing as well, so 79 degrees.
Apparently we have a bit of a problem, because although the engine temperature continues to climb, the thermostat in the PRT hasn't opened. After bleeding the system again, everything worked perfectly. The thermostat opened when it should, and the radiator cooling fan came on at 106 degrees and went off at 97 degrees. Having sorted out the notoriously finicky cooling system, we checked for exhaust gases in the coolant. You can see that the blue liquid didn't change colour, so all is good. This is what happens when exhaust gases are detected. Okay. Now we're checking the fuel pump pressure. 3 bar is pretty good. So tomorrow's a big day. It goes in for its MOT. Lots happened to this car since it was last MOT. I suspect it's either going to go horribly wrong and half my modifications are going to have to get undone, or it's going to come back with a completely clean sheet. See how it goes anyway. I cannot complain about that. A pass with no advisories. Well chuffed. Because everything had been taken apart, all the alignment was out, so I had the garage reset it and give extra camber for better handling on the track. It was absolutely fantastic to be driving her on the road at long last. The exhaust was knocking, unfortunately, and that just needed a bit of adjustment. I also replaced the rubber hanger that didn't seem to have enough tension in it, or maybe it was just the wrong one, a little bit too large. One way or another, the exhaust is nice and quiet now. That's it for this video. The next job's going to be to have a look at that camshaft position sensor. I know it's not as simple as just putting the new sensor on. My Autel tester has told me I've got a P0340 code. I've tried a spare sensor, and that's not made any difference. So what I need to do is research that code in more detail, find out exactly what else it could be. Might be wiring, might be that the timing is just ever so slightly out. Don't know. I'm going to need to have a look at that, so I'm going to cover that in a separate video later on. Apart from that, I'm going to get some miles on the car and then do a compression test, do another coolant test, and assuming she's all okay, she'll be ready for the track. And I've got to admit, I'm looking forward to getting back to Bedford Autodrome and seeing how it handles with the rear end completely rebuilt. Obviously after that I've got the entire front end to do, so there's still going to be plenty more content coming along for this car. So thank you very much for watching, and see you soon.